Look, before I ever cared about business or strategy or systems, I cared about design, real design. And by that I mean the shape of things, the feeling of things, the intention behind every choice a founder makes before anyone else even notices. Design is the first domino. Everything else is just the chain reaction. I've lived in places where design is oxygen. Paris, London, Vienna, New York, Miami. In those cities, you learn that the world is constantly sending signals through color, through proportion, through architecture, and even through silence. Design teaches you how to feel before you think. But then look, I've also lived in places where design meets reality. Swindon in the UK, Dwight, Illinois, Piracicaba in the state of Sao Paulo, the suburbs of Austin, Texas. These are places where people don't have time for theory. This is where a brand either works or it doesn't. This is where a business either survives or it doesn't. And that contrast gave me an edge. I can understand how a brand feels in Manhattan, and I know how it lands in the middle of the country. I study design at the top of the pyramid, and I test it at the base. I feel it at the base. That's why this podcast exists. Because we read biographies at the wrong altitude. We get lost in the drama and the mythology, and then we miss the design. We miss the one decision that shaped everything else. The constraint, the architecture, the identity, the taste. That's the real story. And it's the only part that matters to a business owner on a Tuesday morning when you're running that business or that team or that retail store or a brand, and you need something that actually works. I spent 20 years running marketing and sales in global companies. Companies like Sanofi, the giant French pharmaceutical giant, Anheuser-Busch InBev, the global beer and beverage leader, Colgate, who runs so many well-known oral care brands in the world. And now I run multiple businesses in consulting and in retail operations. So I live in the mess. I'm in the payroll. I'm often in the store. I see how a design decision collapses if the system underneath it isn't built right. And here's what I've learned. The same forces that build billion-dollar companies build small companies too, small up and rising companies too. And these forces are taste, design, identity, consistency, and ultimately systems that reinforce the design instead of betraying it. Every episode of this show does one thing. It takes a design decision from an iconic operator like Steve Jobs, the Heineken company, even Anheuser-Busch InBev or Rockefeller, and it turns it into an operating system. An operating system that you can install by next Tuesday. So we go from design onto architecture and finally onto system, business system. That's the flow. That's the blueprint. That is the arbitrage. So if you're an operator or even an executive who feels the world before you explain it, if you notice the little things others walk past, if you believe a business is a design experience, not just an accident, then you're in the right place. This is the Design Arbitrage Podcast. I'm Gustavo Reichart. Let's build something beautiful and brutally effective together. Thank you for listening.